to deal with toxic people. Do's and don'ts for dealing with toxic behavior. We all know that person, the one who leaves you feeling worse off after interacting with them. Maybe it's a manipulative family member or a coworker who can't stop complaining about every little thing. It's common to refer to these people as being toxic. If you have a hard time dealing with someone in your life, it's helpful to start by pinpointing problematic behaviors rather than simply labeling them as being toxic. Some key signs of toxicity: self absorption or self centeredness, manipulation and other emotional abuse, dishonesty and deceit, difficulty offering compassion to others, a tendency to create drama or conflict. Sounds like familiar? Let's see how to respond to this type of behavior. Avoid playing into their reality. Some people have a tendency to see themselves as the victim in every situation. If they mess up, they might shift the blame to someone else or tell a story that paints them in a more positive light. You might feel tempted to nod and smile in order to prevent an angry outburst. This might feel like the safest option, but it can also encourage them to see you as a supporter. Try respectful disagreement instead. You might say, I had a different take on the situation, and describe what really happened. Stick to the facts without making accusations. While your disagreement might upset them, it might also lower the chances they will try involving you again. Don't get drawn. Dealing with someone's toxic behavior can be exhausting. The person might constantly complain about others, always have a new story about unfair treatment, or even accuse you of wrongdoing them or not caring about their needs. Resist the urge to jump on the complaining train with them or defend yourself against accusations. Instead, respond with a simple, I am sorry you feel that way, and leave it at that. Pay attention to how they make you feel. Sometimes, simply becoming more aware of how someone's toxic behavior affects you can help you better navigate interactions with them. Most people occasionally say rude or hurtful things they don't mean. No one feels their best all the time, and being in a bad mood can make you lash out. This isn't necessarily toxic, but ask yourself if put downs, lies, or other types of emotional and verbal abuse characterize most of your interactions. Do they apologize or seem to notice how what they say or do affects you? Personal struggles don't excuse abuse, and you don't have to accept it either. Talk to them about their behavior. Someone who gossips, manipulates others, or creates dramatic situations might not realize how their behavior affects you or anyone else. An open conversation may help them realize this behavior is unacceptable. To keep things neutral, try to stick to I statements which feel less accusatory for other person and set boundaries that work for you. Here are some examples of this action. I feel uncomfortable when I hear unkind things about co-workers. I won't participate in those conversations. I value trust in friendship. So I can't continue this friendship if you lie to me again. Put yourself first. On the flip side, behavior doesn't have to be abuse or spiteful to be toxic. Other behaviors can be just as damaging. Maybe the person in question desperately needs your help. In other words, you offer support, but you receive support too. Taking care of yourself involves making sure you have enough emotional energy to meet your own needs. In return, offer passion, but try to fix them. People can change, but they have to be willing to put in the work to do so. You might want to help someone you care about instead of writing them completely out of your life. But while you can always offer compassion and kindness, you likely won't be able to change them. At the end of the day, they have to commit to putting in the effort. Also be tough, especially when someone tries to guilt trip you into changing your mind. But you decide to say no, don't back down. This may prove challenging, especially when they use a dramatic outburst to try to get their way. But the more you practice saying no to things you are not comfortable with, the easier it becomes. Removing yourself from the situation can help you avoid scenes. If you can't physically leave, make it clear you are no longer involved in the discussion. Say, excuse me, and turn away, for example. Remember, you are not at fault. Toxic behavior can make you feel like you did something wrong, even when you know you did not. It's tough to face attacks from someone who behaves in a toxic manner. They might get personal, try to twist your words, or accuse you of wanting to hurt them. At some point, you might even second guess yourself and rack your brain for something you might have done. But remind yourself, their behavior has nothing to do with you. Restate your boundaries and try not to take their spite personally. Take a deep breath to calm yourself or mindfully acknowledge their words so you can let them go without being affected. Make yourself unavailable. People who act in a toxic way can often sense who they can manipulate. They may move on when they see their tactics don't work on you. If you are never available, they might eventually stop trying to engage. The strategy can be particularly helpful at work when you are bound to have plenty of honest excuses. Sorry, I have too much work to chat. Got to prep for that meeting, so I can't talk. You might face some passive aggressive remarks or outright accusations when you make your excuses. Try not to respond. Even if you feel upset, remember it's not about you. Limit your time together. Do you dread seeing a particular person? Feel anxious or stressed beforehand? Take these feelings as a sign you may want to see them less. People who behave toxically tend to focus on themselves and what they want. They might blame you or other people for any problems they have and show little interest in your feelings or needs. This can make spending time with them unpleasant. If you are dealing with someone who picks fight with you or repeatedly pushes your boundaries, consider scaling back the amount of time you spend with them. When you can't avoid the person, if you can't completely avoid or scale back the amount of time you spend with someone, you still have options. Set boundaries. Boundaries are essential. Setting boundaries involves deciding what you will and won't tolerate. Communicate these boundaries clearly and stick to them. Maybe you don't mind listening to your coworkers' dramatic stories, even the obviously fictional ones, but you draw your line at verbal abuse or gossip. So when they start mocking another coworker, say, like I said, I am not interested in this type of conversations. Leave the room if you can, or try putting on headphones. Have an exit strategy. If you are stuck in a toxic conversation and don't see an easy way out, you might worry that leaving seems rude, especially if you are talking to a supervisor. But it's entirely possible to leave politely. If it helps, consider coming up with a few go to lines ahead of time that you can pull out as needed. Try something like, I'm sorry, but I have to stop you. I've got a lot of work, so I can't chat right now. Or, sorry, I'm waiting on an important phone call and can't get into this right now. Change your routine. Does a family member always catch you when you are studying or hold you up on your way to work? Maybe a coworker always complain at lunch about how horrible everyone treats them. Ideally, they would respect the boundaries you set, but this doesn't always happen. When it may not seem fair that you are that one who has to change, it's often worth it for your own well being. Switching up your routine can help you avoid getting pulled into conversations you would rather skip. Try eating lunch somewhere besides the break room, wearing headphones, or reading a book. Avoiding family members can be harder. Try having a respectful but firm conversations about needing to focus on your studies. If you are on the way out the door, practice your quick strategy. Sorry, I'm late. Encourage them to get help. It's often difficult to understand why people behave in toxic ways, but might help to consider that they might be dealing with some personal challenges that are causing them to lash out. This doesn't excuse problematic behavior, but it can help explain it. If you have a close relationship with someone who behaves in a toxic way, consider pointing out some harmful behaviors and explaining how they affect others if you feel comfortable doing so. If they seem respectful, encourage them to talk to a therapist about why they act the way they do. Psychotherapy can help people identify problematic behaviors and learn to manage their emotions and reactions in healthier ways. Don't get personal. We recommend keeping interaction with the person superficial. Be clear about how you are and are not willing to engage. Toxic behavior can involve gossiping, oversharing personal details, or using personal information to provoke reactions. If you know someone who does these things, keep your conversations light and insignificant. Shut down attempts at prying or oversharing with. Actually, I prefer not to talk about my relationship at work. Maintain calm. You might wonder how it's possible to stay calm around the person when just thinking about crossing paths makes your heart pound. Stay grounded. Next time, stay grounded. Next time you feel anxious in an interaction, try grounding yourself with these tips. Breathe slowly and deeply. Try relaxing your muscles instead of tensing them. Let the words wash over you and silently repeat a calming mantra. Distract yourself if the situation allows. Doodle, fidget with an object, or close your eyes and visualize your favorite place. The bottom line, sometimes cutting people out of your life may seem like the only way to escape their toxic behavior, but this isn't always feasible. If you have to spend time with someone who exhibits toxic behavior, remind yourself their actions are not your fault nor your responsibility. It's important they know what you are not willing to tolerate.